Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Climate Business Plan Community Meeting webinar. Thanks to all who took the time to join us and attend virtually. I am Melissa Adams, Assistant Vice President for Climate Strategy Policy and Commercialization for Washington Gas Light, and I will be serving as your presenter and moderator. As we get started, let's take part in a Washington Gas tradition and begin our meeting with a safety minute. With that, it's my pleasure to introduce my colleague, Dr. Opioluwa Olawale, Lead Strategist, Critical Energy Transitions, who will share a few points on safety.
Thank you, Melissa. As schools open across the region, it is critical to be especially vigilant about road safety. Stay alert for school buses on the roads and children walking or biking to school. And pay extra attention when driving through school zones and residential areas, especially during the early morning and afternoon hours. Children can be unpredictable, so slow down and be prepared to stop if you see a child crossing the street or running to catch a bus. It's required by law to stop when a school bus is picking up or dropping off children. So, watch for these buses flashing red lights and extended stop sign. And if you're driving behind a school bus, allow extra space for their frequent stops as they pick up and drop off students. Make sure to slow down and follow the speed limits in school zones. Always follow the signals and directions given by crossing guards. They are there to ensure the safety of children crossing the road. With schools reopening, traffic patterns might change. Allow yourself extra time to accommodate school-related delays. And finally, a great tip for driving at any time is to avoid distractions. Keep your focus on the road, do not use your phone while driving, and refrain from other activities in the vehicle that may take your attention away from driving. Let's continue to demonstrate our dedication to community safety by being cautious and courteous drivers, especially during this critical back-to-school period. Stay safe and drive responsibly.
Thank you, Opioluwa. We're gathering today for an update on our efforts to tackle climate change by reducing greenhouse gas emissions. First, a little background. In March of 2020, Washington Gas filed its Climate Business Plan with the District of Columbia Public Service Commission. In it, we provided a framework for how we can help the district achieve its climate goals, aiming to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and become carbon neutral by 2050. Since that time, the district has accelerated the achievement of this target to 2045. After developing the Climate Business Plan, we put together our 5-year climate action plans and also provided a 30-year climate action roadmap, both of which were filed with the DC Public Service Commission. Last month, we proposed a new set of programs to help reduce emissions, and those will be highlighted in today's discussion. As we begin, please note that the information we are presenting is based on the information known to us at this time, and a more detailed disclaimer is being shown on the screen. Here is our agenda for the evening. Should you have questions, please submit them using the Q&A function. You can ask your questions at any time during the meeting, and we will answer them after the update. All microphones are now muted and cameras are disabled. Today we will share the progress we have made since our meeting last December. We will provide updates on initiatives in the 3 core areas on which our climate business plan is centered: maximizing energy efficiency, enhancing infrastructure and operations, and harnessing lower carbon fuel sources. First, we will share a quick update on each of the pillars of our plan. Following this review, we will shift our focus to the new programs that we proposed to the DC Public Service Commission on August 5th in Formal Case 1167, which builds on the concepts and ideas that were outlined in our Climate Business Plan framework. Washington Gas's Accelerated Infrastructure Replacement Program is the centerpiece of our infrastructure modernization effort in the District of Columbia. Based on a refreshed risk model and feedback from our stakeholders, we are currently redefining the program, which going forward will fittingly be known as DC SAFE. As reflected by its name, it focuses on enhancing safety while also reducing greenhouse gas emissions and improving the reliability and resiliency of the district's energy infrastructure by replacing aging pipe in the distribution system. Doing so will result in a safer system with far fewer leaks, which has the added benefit of reducing fugitive greenhouse gas emissions that are attributable to older pipe materials. Washington Gas is one of the nation's oldest continuously operating gas utility systems, and we proudly celebrated our 175th year of service last year. Given the early adoption of natural gas in the district, the company's piping system is among the oldest in the nation. Many of our pipes are now aging and in need of replacement to enhance safety and reliability. Our replacement programs are risk-based, meaning that greater emphasis is placed on pipe that has a high probability of leaking. Beyond safety aspects, much of the pipe that is targeted for replacement has a relatively higher associated rate of fugitive emissions than the more modern materials that will replace it. For example, the EPA assigns cast iron main a fugitive emissions leak rate of 27.25 standard cubic feet of natural gas per hour per mile, compared to 1.13 for modern plastic material that is being installed by Washington Gas today. This example would equate to an annual emissions reduction of approximately 20 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent for every 1,000 feet of pipeline replacement. From the launch of targeted replacement in June 2014 through 2023, replacing older pipe with modern pipe in DC has enabled a cumulative compounded reduction equivalent to approximately 30,515 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions. In 2022, we sought permission to continue the program. Per the Commission's June 2024 order, we are now in dialogue with our stakeholders regarding the next phase of system modernization that will enhance safety, reliability, and, as mentioned, lead to further reductions in greenhouse gas emissions. We are also continuing to utilize advanced leak detection technology to increase our ability to identify and address leaks, which has been a topic addressed during several of our earlier update meetings. It is important to note that advanced leak detection is not a substitute for replacement of aged pipe materials made from vintage materials. We are currently continuing to utilize vehicle-mounted detection equipment. In fulfillment of a commission order, we are using this technology to investigate emissions indications that were previously reported by a DOEE contractor. Per reports to the Commission, the use of this sensitive technology has shown a very low confirmation rate. We are continuing our evaluation as to how best to utilize these detection technologies to efficiently find leak indications and have used this information to prioritize work on Commission-approved replacement projects. In every case, whenever the mobile-mounted equipment detects a possible leak, the company further investigates with work crews that test for emissions in the area by using handheld sensors that take additional measurements at the identified emission sites. Every 2 months, the company reports the results of its findings to the Public Service Commission. The company has also deployed drawdown compressors to capture and to re-inject gas into the pipeline system during certain repair, maintenance, and replacement activities. Since 2016, the use of this technology avoided the release of 4.70 million standard cubic feet of natural gas, equivalent to 2,852 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions. In 2023 alone, the last full year for which we have data, the use of this technology avoided the release of 2.25 million standard cubic feet of natural gas, which is the equivalent of 1,365 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions. That's the same as taking 325 gasoline-powered passenger vehicles off the road for the same one-year period. When the drawdown compressors could not be used, the company used flaring to avoid the release of an additional 47 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions on a system-wide basis in 2023. Since 2016, flaring avoided the release of an additional 342 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions. We continue to await approval of our December 2022 proposal that is pending before the Public Service Commission that would allow DC residents and businesses to access energy efficiency programs that reduce energy bills and greenhouse gas emissions. These programs were highlighted during our August 2023 Climate Business Plan Update meeting. And you can find that discussion at Washington Gas DC climatebusinessplan.com. The type of gas that we deliver heavily influences certain categories of what are called Scope 3 greenhouse gas emissions, specifically customer usage of our delivered product and emissions associated with the extraction and production of natural gas. Emissions from these Scope 3 sources far exceed the emissions we directly control and that relate to our operations and infrastructure, which fall into the category known as Scope 1. With respect to Scope 3 emissions, we continue to take action to lower emissions associated with the largest part of the natural gas value chain, the supply we purchase and deliver for customer usage. Climate science tells us that emissions remain in the atmosphere for years and therefore have a compounding effect on climate change. Therefore, addressing emissions each day with both small and large efforts is important. Reducing methane emissions from upstream oil and gas extraction and processing is a low-cost, ready-now strategy, making it among the most viable and significant near-term actions we can take to address climate change. The differentiated third-party certified gas we are procuring has a very low carbon intensity rating. A carbon intensity rating is calculated based on the volume of greenhouse gas emissions generated to produce a unit of gas. From September 2022 through August 2023, Washington Gas procured approximately 13.5 billion cubic feet of certified gas, independently audited and verified by MIQ as lower emissions gas with an emissions intensity less than or equal to 0.05%, approximately 90% lower than the national average of 0.5306%, and representing an avoided greenhouse gas emissions of over 30,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions throughout the gas supply chain. For this winter heating season, we have selected a supplier to provide 60,000 decatherms per day, the equivalent of approximately 60 million cubic feet per day, for the period November 2024 through March 2025. In addition to emissions reductions associated with conventional natural gas, we are also exploring other fuels with lower carbon intensity. Another fuel that is ready now and one of our key focus areas is renewable natural gas, or RNG. One of the main advantages of RNG is that it is fully interchangeable with natural gas without requiring special infrastructure to deliver it or different equipment to use it. It is most commonly produced from treated biogas that is a byproduct of our local communities, as in gases produced from wastewater facilities and landfills. It is produced from the food that we discard as well as that which we individually process and flush. It is also produced from waste by dairy, hog, or chicken farms. Interest in RNG continues to grow, with activity in 38 states to promote the use of RNG in the residential or commercial sector through either legislative, regulatory, or utility-led action. In fact, some states have instituted a renewable natural gas portfolio standard, which mandates the delivery of a certain volume of renewable natural gas. This policy structure is akin to the renewable portfolio standard used in the District of Columbia that procures renewable energy credits that stimulates the use of renewable energy production. States like Virginia also provide supportive policies, such as the Virginia Energy Innovation Act, that enables utilities to recover costs associated with RNG interconnection. Close to home, we've seen a strong and growing interest in RNG in our region. Our wastewater and landfill operators share our view that methane generated from these facilities should not be released into the air or flared, but instead should be productively harnessed. In addition, several of our local jurisdictions also are very interested in capturing and using RNG. As we discussed at our last meeting, multiple regional jurisdictions, including the counties of Montgomery, Prince George's, Arlington, Loudoun, and Prince William, are in various stages of inquiry, procurement, and implementation of RNG projects. During our last meeting, we highlighted our recent agreement with the operators of the Prince William County landfill, one of the largest in the region. We also previously shared information about our agreement for Washington Suburban Sanitation Commission's Piscataway plant to inject RNG into our system. Waste emissions are key contributors to regional greenhouse gases. The 2021 District of Columbia Emissions Inventory attributes 520,596 metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions directly to the district's waste facilities. For context, that's the same amount of emissions produced by more than 123,000 gasoline-powered passenger vehicles in 1 year. RNG has benefits in multiple use cases, particularly because it is fully interchangeable with natural gas. It is especially valuable in the transportation sector that is responsible for significant volumes of greenhouse gas emissions, which can also be the most challenging to reduce, particularly among medium and heavy-duty vehicles, and the use of RNG natural gas vehicles generally comes at a negative cost for the vehicle operator given the financial incentives available via the U.S. EPA's Renewable Fuel Standard program. The interconnection Washington Gas has created with Piscataway is helping to reduce transportation emissions by supporting Montgomery County's zero-emission bus transition plan in Maryland. Through engagement with GTI and peer gas distribution companies, we continue to pursue investigations into various aspects of thermal hydrogen usage. To safely introduce hydrogen into any system, there are two initial questions that need to be answered. At what concentrations is hydrogen compatible with our existing delivery infrastructure? And if not, what modifications would need to be made to make it compatible? And more importantly for consumers, is it compatible with the appliances and equipment that they already own? Washington Gas continues to explore both questions by learning from other gas companies and technical research institutes. We also continue to explore additional lower carbon alternatives and are now exploring a networked geothermal pilot in Maryland. Since we last met, the company put forth a new set of climate programs for consideration by the Public Service Commission. The programs build on the framework put forth in our 2020 Climate Business Plan and other filings the company has previously made in formal case number 1167, a docket created by the Public Service Commission to implement the district's climate goals. The proposal filed by the company on August 5 outlines programs designed to explore opportunities and strategies that could be deployed in the district to achieve emissions abatement, streamline procedural processes for lower carbon alternatives, and enhance emissions data accuracy and transparency for the district's energy customers and policymakers. The proposed programs align with the 7 principles outlined in the Commission's Modernizing the Energy Delivery System for Increased Sustainability, better known as the METSIS proceeding, which promotes the management of a well-planned, safe, and reliable, secure, affordable, interactive, and equitable energy system as the district works towards addressing climate challenges. Due to the urgency of the climate crisis, the proposal includes both immediately available strategies to address global warming today, as well as actions that support long-term success. The 4 proposed programs, which will be further described in a moment, are as follows. 1. Conduct studies to evaluate the emission reduction potential and feasibility of currently available lower carbon energy alternatives. 2. Develop a procedural process that would provide for expedited consideration for infrastructure to connect renewable biomethane sources to the natural gas distribution system. 3. Secure permission to procure carbon credits to offset customer combustion emissions. And 4. Enhance emissions reporting to improve transparency and accuracy of data collection in the district. Taking these programs in order, we'll now provide a little more detail. Program 1. The company has asked for Commission support to develop and allocate existing funding for a series of studies to assess the feasibility, costs, and emissions reduction benefits of implementing network geothermal systems, sewage heat recovery, carbon capture, hybrid gas-electric heating, and in-district biomethane resources. To avoid financial strain on our customers, the company proposed to resource these studies from funding that customers have already contributed to the district's Sustainable Energy Trust Fund. Since 2021, gas customers have paid approximately $38.8 million into the fund without receiving any benefits. The company has asked that the Commission find that it is in the public interest for the DC Sustainable Energy Utility, known as the DCSEU, to allocate $2 million of these funds for the study of lower carbon energy technology and alternatives. For each study topic, the company has proposed developing working groups comprised of members of the energy technology community, as well as interested stakeholders. It has proposed delivering study results within 12 to 24 months following the receipt of funds from the Sustainable Energy Trust Fund. There will be no customer bill impact for this program. Program 2 proposes that the Commission adopt a process that can give expedited approval and cost recovery for infrastructure that can connect biomethane facilities to the Washington gas system. As noted by the EPA, biomethane infrastructure can play a significant role in reducing emissions from the waste sector while also helping to displace fossil fuels used for both thermal and transportation purposes. By approving Program 2, the Commission can help facilitate emissions reductions from the district's waste, transportation, and building sector. The technology to capture, treat, and upgrade raw biomethane, including digesters, is mature and has been commercially used for decades. As mentioned, the company is already leveraging its infrastructure to advance the delivery of biomethane sourced from area wastewater and landfill facilities, including a landfill project in Prince William County, Virginia, and WSSC's Piscataway Wastewater Treatment Facility. Program 2 asks the Commission to adopt an expedited procedural process through which biomethane interconnections would be approved so these facilities could deliver important emissions reductions via Washington gas infrastructure. Jurisdictions such as Oregon, California, and Washington that have comparable GHG reduction targets to the district also have active biomethane programs that allow natural gas utilities to propose and develop biomethane infrastructure. Biomethane infrastructure projects can facilitate the development and productive use of localized sources of energy in the district and create additional revenue stream opportunities for municipal facilities that sell biomethane byproducts for habitat restoration, tree planting, and other infrastructure projects. Municipal landfill and wastewater treatment facilities have also received economic benefits by producing upgraded biomethane, which is eligible for state and federal economic incentives. Approval of Program 2 will foster the development of biomethane resources in the district by reducing the barriers to project development that currently exist. Program 3, Carbon Neutral Credits, seeks approval of funds to facilitate progress toward the district's goal of carbon neutrality through the purchase of credits associated with carbon avoidance, reduction, and removal projects. The importance of utilizing carbon credits as a climate tool to address emissions, including from fuel combustion, is recognized by a range of experts, including the International Panel on Climate Change and the Biden-Harris administration. Other market mechanisms, including renewable energy certificates, or RECs, are the primary tool used by electricity suppliers to meet the district's renewable portfolio standard targets. In 2023, electricity suppliers submitted over 3.8 million RECs for RPS compliance, totaling $166.8 million in REC purchases. Program 3 will provide Washington Gas with a similar opportunity to offset a portion of GHG emissions using market mechanisms. Program 3 will utilize carbon credits generated from a diverse portfolio of targeted GHG emission reduction or removal projects, including local projects where feasible. Just as RECs and other market mechanisms, including Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative carbon credits, have long been accepted as useful tools to achieve emissions reductions associated with electricity, carbon credits can and should be adopted as a useful tool to achieve immediate emissions reductions in the gas sector in support of the district's goal of carbon neutrality. As discussed in our earlier update, the company already has achieved significant emissions reductions in key areas relating to its direct operations and fuel procurement, and has efficiency programs pending to help do the same. The district's most recent GHG emissions inventory from 2021 reports that emissions attributable to natural gas use represent approximately 23% of total greenhouse gas emissions. Of this amount, over 94% is attributable to combustion of natural gas, whereas less than 6% is attributable to the company's infrastructure and operations. Program 3 seeks to address a portion of the emissions from the combustion of natural gas delivered to Washington Gas customers in the district. The company's proposal seeks to ensure the carbon credits procured represent a verifiable and high-quality offset to gas-related GHG emissions and are procured within a transparent framework that will align with well-established standard-setting carbon credit procurement bodies and registries such as the American Carbon Registry, the Climate Action Reserve, and VERA. The company will solicit bids from qualified suppliers, brokers, and/or project developers to acquire carbon credits of the type and quality best suited for achieving emissions reductions within the cost parameters of the program. With the Commission's oversight, the company will develop a portfolio of carbon credits that represent a diverse group of projects and price points, and will seek to include carbon credits from existing or planned local projects where feasible. The company will also annually report with third-party assurance the emissions avoided, reduced, or removed, the type of credits procured, their vintages and retirement dates. The report will confirm that the credits purchased adhered to the company's framework criteria and have been appropriately retired. The company's proposal includes an annual cost cap of $5 million that we estimate would be less than 2 cents per therm, much less than the nearly 8 cents per therm that customers are now required to pay into the Sustainable Energy Trust Fund, an amount that will escalate to 10 cents next year. As mentioned previously, the SETF does not provide any programs for Washington Gas customers to reduce greenhouse gas emissions associated with natural gas usage. Program 4, Enhanced Emissions Reporting and Accuracy. The company is requesting approval of a program to require Commission-approved third-party or non-utility energy providers to self-report to the Commission the volume and known emissions intensity of certain gas supplies delivered to district customers via Washington Gas's pipeline system. The company seeks to have these parties report the delivered volume of differentiated natural gas, that is, gas certified for lower upstream emissions intensity compared to the average emissions associated with natural gas extraction and production, treated biomethane, and gas molecules that have been matched with carbon credits. The company has also proposed to meet the same reporting requirements as these third-party energy providers. Aligning and enhancing reporting requirements across all gas providers in the district ensures fairness and consistency and will enable the district to better understand the greenhouse gas emissions associated with natural gas usage. This is especially important given that non-utility companies supply approximately half of the natural gas consumed by district customers. Third-party suppliers may be providing differentiated products with lower emissions intensities than fossil natural gas, but the company and district policymakers currently lack visibility into the volume or known emissions intensities of these products. Program 4 will lead to a clearer understanding of the emissions associated with the Washington Gas customer base by requiring all entities selling gas in the district to more clearly report on certain lower carbon products. Program 4 offers a starting point to capture equivalent data for both the natural gas and electricity sectors, a data collection priority supported by the Commission in the GD 2019-04M proceeding. The benefits of Program 4 include increased access to data describing the known upstream emissions intensity of the natural gas system, more accurate reporting in connection with the district's emissions inventory, increased protection for district customers, and potentially greater adoption of fuel supply-related carbon abatement solutions. The company does not expect this program to increase customer bills. That concludes our formal update presentation. We will now open the session to questions. As we compile our questions, I'm delighted to introduce my colleague, Jessica Rogers, our new Vice President of Regulatory and Climate Strategy, who will join me in responding to your questions. So I see that we do have a question. Someone has asked whether customers can choose to purchase renewable natural gas the same way that they can select to buy wind or solar or other green electricity to reduce emissions. So that's a great question. And we will note that when it comes to choosing and selecting, a lot of that optionality is provided by third-party suppliers. So as we mentioned, about 50% of the gas we deliver is actually provided by third parties that are selected by our customers. And so at the moment, Washington Gas does not have, for the other 50% that we directly sell and deliver, we don't have programs like that. But one of the things we're trying to figure out is whether our third-party suppliers do have these programs, and if so, how much natural gas they are avoiding or delivering through renewable natural gas. And actually, that is one of the proposals that we just made in 1167. So we want to get more visibility into lower carbon fuels delivered, and we really want to stimulate interest in those lower carbon fuels. And Jess, I don't know if you have anything that you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think what I would add is that, we think that having that greater visibility would be helpful to consumers and helpful to the commission and the district too, to really be able to grapple with like the true emissions profile of the gas that's flowing on the Washington Gas system and within the district. And we see this as being comparable to what's going on the electric side. So there's a lot more reporting by suppliers and a lot more clarity about what those suppliers are engaging, the kinds of activities those suppliers are engaging in. We want to open that discussion at the commission, and we think more information, more visibility is going to be beneficial to all parties to this process.
Thanks, Jessica. Well, let's see if we have any other questions coming in.
It is a really beautiful Friday afternoon.
I know, and it's a little late in the day. Okay, we'll give everybody another minute or two, and then we'll let everybody return to this gorgeous day. So. Okay. Well, I'm not seeing anything come in. So I will say this
Oh,
slowly.
wait, maybe it looks like we have a couple more.
Oh, do we? Okay, let's see. Aha. Okay. We are getting another question. A couple of questions. Okay. What other RNG projects are you pursuing right now? So I think we just mentioned that we are currently connecting with WSSC, and that gas is actually helping to achieve Montgomery County's lower emissions targets for its bus fleet. And we are also connecting with the Prince William County facility. And as a result of our interconnection, that facility has, I think, estimated a 30% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. And if anybody's interested, we highlighted Prince William County on our last call. So there's a lot more information about that. And we've also engaged with a variety of other counties in the area, and in some cases responded to some of the RFPs. So I know we've had a lot of discussions with Arlington County. I believe we've been engaged with Prince George's County. So some of these things take quite a while to develop, but that's just kind of some insight into some of the projects that we've been discussing with others. And then somebody asked, when is Washington Gas going to file a report on certified gas activities? So we do actually engage with our commission on a regular basis through our purchased gas, not sure of the full name of it, but our purchased gas working group, I think is what it's called. So we meet regularly with the commission and staff, and I believe other parties as well, because one of the key things about being a natural gas LDC is that we acquire our supply on a prudent basis. So we do report the quantity of gas that we've provided, and we also report on our purchasing and our costs related to gas procurement. And Jessica, do you want to elaborate in any way? So it's a regular proceeding that's been going on for years and occurs. I don't know if it's semi-annual or quarterly.
So we do have the quarterly gas procurement working group, and we talk about certified gas in that working group. We also, I believe, subject to tech, have we'll be filing an annual report as part of that purchase gas process.
Okay. Oh, and actually, Opialua has posted a very helpful link in the chat. And so it's the transcript of those meetings. So if anybody is really interested, these are public meetings, and you can link to that transcript. We're getting another question. Somebody is asking, it seems like it's taking a long time for things to get approved. Is there anything that the public can do to support some or all of these proposals? So that is a good question. These things do seem to take a very long time. And, I think there needs to be a thorough evaluation of our proposals and engagement. But in my estimation, it would be nice if we could move things along a little more quickly, because we can't make impact. We can't, as a utility in almost all cases, we cannot act unilaterally to move our proposals forward, we have to get commission approval. And so actually, Jessica, I don't know, I think you might have something to add in this regard, but
Well, I do have a few things to add. So, I think the company would like to see many of these things move forward. Certainly, the energy efficiency programs have been out there for quite some time, and it would be really nice if we could get those in place because they do directly benefit the customer. On the 1167 proposals, so those 4 proposals that Melissa just talked about, they are at docket 1167. The public is welcome to file comments in support of the measures and is welcome to file comments encouraging the commission to adopt a procedural schedule and a process. The company did propose a procedural schedule to actually move that towards a fulsome discussion, because again, to me, a procedural schedule isn't a decision. It's an opportunity for us to have a conversation about the ideas and the direction that the district and its energy future need to be headed. So, we would love to see these things move forward. We think it's important. And if the public is so inclined, the commission is certainly open and welcoming to public comments.
And I just want to correct something. I misspoke earlier. Our energy efficiency programs actually were filed in April of 2023. So they've only been pending for a year and a half, not 2 years. I misspoke and said December. But nonetheless, that's an awfully long time for our customers to be without any energy efficiency options or programming, which we have available in our other states.
One, Melissa, just to build on that a little bit, energy efficiency programs are very widespread. They're, generally roundly successful and embraced by commissions across the country and advocates across the country and utilities across the country, because again, it's the win-win-win of lowering direct costs for the consumer, lowering emissions associated with the system, and often, helping to get better quality equipment than customers would otherwise have. So it is something that we think that the district customers are really missing out on, that they would benefit from.
Yeah, and that's correct, because I think nearly almost every state in the country has such programs for gas customers. Let's see, is there anything else coming in? Well, I'll give a moment and just make sure we're not missing anything. Otherwise, it is a gorgeous afternoon, as Jessica just mentioned. Oh, I think we might be getting something. Okay, we just got another question. Why is it prudent for the company to study lower carbon fuel technologies when other studies are underway? Shouldn't the company wait for these studies to conclude and use the information to inform our strategy? So that's a good question. We have proposed in our latest 1167 filing a number of studies. I think I just mentioned everything from carbon capture to geothermal projects to RNG infrastructure, and then even looking at the opportunities to use sewage heat recovery for heating and cooling. And there are examples of this throughout the country. But one reason it's really important for us to look at this, and we did propose looking at this with stakeholders and others as well, is because the district is unique. And so whenever these sorts of programs are considered, we really need to look at our local conditions, which can vary dramatically. We know, for example, that Denver is doing a sewage recapture program, but Denver is different. Does that work for us here? or not. And so certainly before we move forward and put anything more detailed together, we really want to study and look at how these things work locally. So that would be my answer. I don't know, Jessica, if you have anything further to add about these things.
Well, I think it's important to note that while we want to look at things, the way that things would operate in this unique local environment, we are actively following a lot of what's going on in the industry, and we're learning lessons with other industry participants. You know, I just heard a presentation yesterday and am joining a group that's looking at hydrogen. And, you know, the California utilities are doing a bunch of different studies on hydrogen. So we can benefit by sharing that information, and Washington Gas tries very hard to keep up with the many things that are going on in the industry right now. But it is very important to look at those local conditions, because cost effectiveness and feasibility are going to be very different depending on where you are, what the existing network looks like, what the capacity for your customers looks like, and their ability to adopt and adapt to new technologies. So, you know, before we just jump into a fulsome pilot on some of these technologies, it's good to look at the landscape and do sort of a stress test to say, is this going to be something that's worth pursuing in a more real world, out in the field endeavor?
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's see if there's anything else coming in. I am not, oh, there it does. Okay, well, this is a little outside the district. So we did get a question about, is there anything to be done to continue Empower Maryland rebates, but I'm not sure how that would exactly help District of Columbia residents, but they can get those services in Maryland right now. So,
well, and I think it's fair to answer. The Public Service Commission in Maryland is actively considering the Empower program. If you feel strongly that Empower should continue, then it is worth raising your voice and indicating that to the Public Service Commission or to your local representatives if you live in Maryland. I do not live in Maryland, so I won't be calling them. But, you know, that is something that they can be directly responsive to. But the company is, you know, actively trying to maintain its Empower program in Maryland, because again, these are nationally very successful programs, and they are beneficial to customers and also to the state's goals.
And then we just got another question asking whether we have any pilot RNG programs, and we don't have any pilots, but we do have actual programs. And in the case of, you know, our infrastructure is incredibly important because it facilitates connection to the entire system, which then gets, in some cases, the gas right now to fleets, which is very beneficial for local transportation, because there are credits available from the federal government that are so valuable that in many cases make this gas either extremely low cost or almost, I don't want to overstep and say free, but in some cases it's extremely beneficial to use renewable natural gas by fleets. So we don't have a pilot, but we actually have connections either in place or underway that, you know, are critical to facilitate the use of renewable natural gas.
Yeah, and I guess I would distinguish, like, to me, RNG it's not really a technology that requires a pilot, because renewable natural gas, it's just natural gas from an existing source that is being captured and essentially recycled through our system or into a vehicle's gas tank. So, you know, in the places where I've heard it called a pilot, it's largely because the jurisdiction doesn't want it to be declared a permanent thing yet, or there's some novel cost recovery and cost components around it. But the technology itself is fully developed. It's been in use in the industry for a very long time. And you know, as far as functional molecules go, the molecules are the same.
Right.
So that's sort of what I think of when
And-
that's really why we're not pursuing pilots, because the
Right.
technology is fully developed and the, you know, implementation of it is also generally fully developed.
Yeah, and we've been at this for years. So, you know, early on, for example, we developed gas quality standards and other things so that we know that the renewable natural gas that's coming into our system is really has the same qualities as natural gas, as Jessica just mentioned. So it's fully interchangeable, whether for right now, a lot of the usage is around fleets, but we see a lot of that market in the future maybe being saturated. So very real good opportunities for potential future use for thermal purposes. And anything else? We are getting close to time right now, so we'll just give it another minute or so and see if anything else pops up. And I am not seeing anything.
Well, before we run out of time,
Mhm.
and giving people just one more second if they have that last minute burning question. I did want to tell this group of stakeholders, who I think many have come to many of these meetings, this is Melissa's last meeting because she is retiring a week from today, and Washington Gas is going to miss her so much. She has provided us with invaluable guidance, insights, and so much hard work and heart over her career at Washington Gas. So I just wanted to take a moment to thank Melissa, both for all of the time and effort she put into organizing this meeting and the time and effort she has put into a decades-long career at Washington Gas. You're the best, Melissa. We will miss you so much.
Oh, thank you, Jessica. But we have a competent new leader on this issue and many others. And so we are just delighted that you've joined the company. And anyway, and thanks to all who've listened. I think this might be our 8th update. So we appreciate everybody's attention and engagement. And I think that just about does it. I don't see anything else coming through. So, but again, of course, if there is, you know, you guys know how to reach us. I think most people do. So for the next week, I'm Melissa Adams at washgas.com. And of course, it's Jessica, I think Jessica.Rogers
Yes.
at washgas.com. So we'd be happy to follow up and respond to any questions you may have. And again, thank you so much for all your attention and engagement. Well,
And
everybody
weekend.
have a great weekend. Thank you. Bye.